Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Mars stock chart planning update video. During this video, I really just want to focus on what my expectations are for September entirely, right? The whole month of September, because I feel like, there's going to be a lot of hype being built up during this month. There's going to be a lot of, mixed news. I just want to give my opinion and help clear things up, at least, based on my view and how I see these, price actions going on for the rest of this month. So before we do get started, I appreciate you guys being here, but everything in this video is not financial advice. It is just my own personal opinion. It's a way for me to express myself on how I plan to manage the assets we're going to be covering today. And I'm not in no means recommending or telling anyone to buy, hold, or sell any assets during this video. And then one more thing, I noticed there are some fake accounts that are starting to pop up. So anytime you happen to get a message from me, just know that I would never message you. And I would never message you about anything besides crypto. I would never message you. Um, I don't speak formally. I don't really think I even text formally. So, all I'm saying is that if you get anything from me, it's pretty much fake because I would never ever message you individually, personally about anything, right? Unless we already have an established, if you're one of the people I already have an established conversation with. But I will not be messaging you. And if I do, which I won't, but look at my name carefully, right? No matter what platform, no matter what, just look at my name very, very carefully. And because it most likely will not be me. But either way, um, to get started, right? We want to go over because Bitcoin and Mara have correlation. We want to cover what the correlation looks like, as well as with interest cut rates that are going to be happening in September, right? We got one more day after today before September starts, so it's going to be it's a perfect time to make this video. So, historically speaking, in September, the Bitcoin percentage returns are usually in the negative, and the average is going to be, the average is around 5% down, right? So most of the month it is down. It does not mean that this month is going to be down as well, but I just want to make sure that a lot of you, if you're not aware of the monthly Bitcoin revenue, so usually September is a negative month. But here's how that kind of correlates with Mara, right? Because if you look at Bitcoin's price one more time, right? Or not one more time, but if you look at Bitcoin's price, and you understand there are going to be interest rate cuts this month, right? There's still like 20 days left till the first interest rate cut happens. And rather that's going to be a 0.25 or 0.5, it does not matter, right? It's expected that there will be a rate cut, regardless of how big or small that rate cut's going to be. Understanding that, historically speaking, right when rate cuts happen, the markets usually do not go up right away, right? You guys can, look back and do research on when rate cuts happen and look at what the markets have done. But normally they do not go up right away, and it usually takes a little bit of time before things usually kick off. Now, this is not guaranteed, but most of the time that's how it's happened, right? So that's why I'm going to make a video on this eventually soon. There's still like over 2 weeks left, but I want to, as of right now, I'm looking to short the market. I'm looking to short crypto. I'm looking to short, uh, Mara and things like that because I not yet. It depends on what the price action looks like beforehand, but there may be a good, super quick shorting opportunity, like for a day or two after the interest rate cut news. But that's gonna be it for a future video. It's a little bit of something I've been thinking about. It's something that I've been um, looking to potentially do, but I'll document it for you guys if I do end up doing that or not. But it's gonna depend on what the price action is beforehand. But of course, we understand that We have an all-time high for Bitcoin up here, like just under 74,000, and then we have within this structure right here, we have sort of a triangle pattern forming. So there could be the possibility of price anticipation towards leading towards interest rate cuts, and then we have like a sell news event. That's happened many times in the past. Many times in the past, good news ends up just being like a sell the news kind of event regardless, right? So we can then that's when we can potentially see a corrective move, continuing to fill the triangle pattern that we're currently in. Or it can be quite as simply if we do see prices drip down a little bit more, like fall, leading towards the interest rate cut, then I will be not shorting it, and I would actually be looking to buy long for the interest. It just depends what happens within the next 20 days, right? But but this is where it's very important to be patient, right? It's very important not to fall into FOMO, fear of missing out. There's a lot of videos and social media posts that are saying, there's an interest rate cut happening in September. Like, you're an idiot if you're not buying right now. Well, I disagree, right? If you're not buying right now, it's because you're being cautious. You understand that there is still, the possibility of seeing lower prices before higher prices. There's still the possibility of just there being a more of a consolidation going on before we see a break of structure in either direction. So it's just, I don't think anyone's an idiot if they're not buying right now. I think it's a great time to just keep an eye on Bitcoin, keep an eye on if you're looking at the overall like stock market index, whatever you're looking at, right? I think it's a good time to really just be watching it. Like, there's no reason to be rushed into any positions right now. There's no reason for you to rush anything. We are in a pretty good accumulation area right now, but it does not mean you need to rush anything. There's nothing wrong with just sitting back and looking at the charts for the next 2 weeks, right? There's nothing wrong with sitting back and looking at the charts for the next 20, even 25 days. Like, don't feel rushed. Don't feel like you're obligated to make a trade. But here's how that correlates with Bitcoin, right? When it comes to Mara. So we understand that Mara, or at least I understand that Mara is looking to potentially start finally moving higher, because we have a little bit of a fib retracement area right in here. We saw prices finally fall into an accumulation zone and then slightly break into the. Don't worry about what all of this right here, because we're not there yet. We got to focus on the current structure. So we understand that Mara broke briefly into the retracement zone, but it's a very shallow and never held and never showed any kind of consolidation in this area right here. Rather than the discounted or premium half, it does not matter. Make sure that they're running a battery on the microphone. We're good. So it's quite simple. You gotta wait, right? You gotta wait for a clear setup. If you rush into a trade without having a proper setup, depending on your risk tolerance and depending on how you like to, structure your own trades, it does not matter, right? To me, there's no obvious clear setup. Yeah, you could say like, oh well, you know, it's sort of, and that's the word sort of, in a little support line. Well, for me, I don't really care about these support lines because I understand that the red accumulation area is right there. It is not very far. And if Bitcoin continues to stay below like $1,000 or $2,000 below um, the previous swing high that we've seen over here, I understand that Mara can have a little bit. We made a one more low. We haven't even retested these swing highs right here. So to me, we're in a little bit of a downtrend with Bitcoin, right? So we can potentially see Bitcoin retest over the weekend the bottom half of this discounted area, right? It is very, very possible. We can still see a little bit more selling off regardless, right? This is the previous swing high. So if we're still making a little bit more of a move down, and we have this support right here too. This reached the 0.35. To me, it makes perfect sense that we can potentially see just a little bit more of a sell-off before we reach higher prices. It's just a way of being cautious, right? just there's no reason to rush into trades right now. It is not clear, and like I don't care who says otherwise. I personally think it is not a clear setup right now, right? We can see the red being tested one more time, but regardless, this gap right here, this gap where you see um, like between the red and the green, this is, for me, it's a patience gap, right? You want to be very patient because we are still consolidating. As you can see, regardless of breaking briefly into the red, briefly into the green, prices on average are consolidating in this gap. So we want to see a sustained gap in either direction that holds the structure, or holds that breaker structure for, like at least a 48-hour period, right? So these are 4-hour candles, and we didn't even see a whole day close, like, or at least like within a 24-hour basis. We really didn't see much of a close there, because we broke quickly after that, right? We never held into it. Either way, to keep it simple, we have interest rate cuts coming up soon. There's 20 days left of price action until then. It can easily we can easily consolidate. We can easily see like a price appreciation until then. We can see a sell off that happens we can see a quick sell off that happens at the announcement of an interest rate cut, because remember, price anticipation kind of, um, how do you say, usually whatever is expected to happen, price moves into that direction, and then once it finally does happen, that's when you see all these people selling to take profit, because the anticipation of the event, how it unravels, was already anticipated, right? So it's quite simple. There's nothing wrong with just being patient. There's nothing wrong with just taking it easy and just watching the charts and waiting for something to happen when it finally gets announced. Interest rates cut gets announced, and then from there you can look to, you know, taking advantage of the aftermath and then actually taking it. I personally think we're gonna see a dip after. We're gonna see a decent dip that can last like a week or two, like probably like a week, like 7 to 10 days. A dip that can happen, or that can. Let me start over. I have a headache. I just woke up. Anyway, um, I'm anticipating as of right now a dip after the first interest rate cut that can last somewhere between 7 to 10 days. But I'll keep you guys updated on that as it does happen. We still have 20 days left, right? So yeah, that's my expectation on it. And also one more thing, for those of you that are looking, if you're someone that's just buying Mara, uh, for the sole reason of just taking advantage of the Bitcoin rally, like once Bitcoin starts moving up higher and starts like, making some really nicely new, fresh, all-time highs. Like, I don't think Mara is the way to go, because Mara is exposed to a lot of expenses. They are a company that has to manage Bitcoin mining operations, right? So if you're buying Mara for the sole purpose of just taking advantage of the Bitcoin rally, it is not a good idea, because they have a lot of expenses and they have a lot of other things that influence the price action. I would highly recommend, any for those of you that just want to take advantage of Bitcoin, is buy Bitcoin itself, buy like a leveraged ETF like, BITU, which I own some BITU. Buy some IBIT, buy whatever one you want, or buy yeah. So just buy the ETFs, buy spot Bitcoin, or just buy a leveraged ETF, or take out, like, if you want exposure to more leverage, like take out, a low margin, low leverage, like, you know, Bitcoin contract or something like times two or times three leverage. Don't go all out with some crazy stuff. You don't want to get liquidated, right? Even though I don't really believe there's much downside left to Bitcoin right now, I believe, there's not much downside in in the near future, but you never know, right? There's no reason to get liquidated. But yeah, guys, um I hope you guys are as not just as optimistic, but as cautious with Bitcoin and Mara short term, right? For the next, 30 days towards the end of September. I hope you guys are being cautious just like I am. understanding that September usually isn't a great month for Bitcoin, which can have an effect on Mara. And just because interest rate cuts are happening does not mean prices are going to skyrocket, right? It can you can easily see a sell-off after that can last a little over a week, right? And if you guys don't believe me, just look at history. What has the markets, what have investors been doing during the majority of rate cuts, right? It usually is a sell-off. I'm not saying there will be, but I'm saying it's something to keep in mind of. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Mara is looking real good, but we could potentially still see uh, a sell-off leading back into the red. We can easily see that, especially since there is still Mount Gox still has a lot of Bitcoin. I think it's like 14,000 maybe. There's still a lot of Bitcoin left for Mount Gox to sell, and there's still some selling pressure on some other institutions as well. So it's just, I'm expecting this to fall a bit more, most likely. That's why I'm not, taking any longs right now on Mara, but I just want you guys to be aware of it. You can make your own decision on that as you want. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and take care.